Well, hi there, intentional streaming fans. Welcome to another episode with your host, Jarvis,
Hey guys, how we doing?
and myself, Flip. We've looks like we might have got our technical difficulties worked out. Ooh, better knock on wood.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let's not get all ahead of ourselves, but looks like we might have a picture there.
Off to a better start.
Couldn't get any worse than last week's, that's for sure.
Well, we're not out of the woods yet.
No.
Let's keep pounding on that wood.
All right, let's get a couple of things out of the way real quick. What we're gonna cover this week is we're gonna go over some coaching changes. We're gonna go over a recap of the AFC NFC games and some fallout from that, and then some of the coaching moves again, and we'll get into some of the fantasy football stuff on top of that, and then towards the end of the show, Jarvis and I will get into a big, fun little discussion that we started on Sunday about Le'Veon Bell and where we think he could end up.
Where I know he will end up.
Oh, boy. Mm-hmm. The guy 0-2 last week. Well, a couple of things out of the way is we got up a Twitter account. It's at INT Stream Pod, of course, at Twitter. And feel free to shoot us an email at intentionalstreaming@gmail.com. And we'll gladly put your answer or your questions on the show.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to field any questions, cover any topics that you may have. So get a hold of us and let us know.
All righty. Well, let's hop into the show then. Quick recap of the AFC NFC championship, Jarvis.
Yeah, so what Flip was alluding to there about a minute ago is me going 0-2 this weekend in my predictions on the Rams, Saints, Patriots, Chiefs. If you go back and listen to our last week's episode, you'll notice that I had predicted that the Saints would beat the Rams, and I thought that the Chiefs would beat the Patriots. And Flip took the exact opposite and came away 2-0, as we've seen. But just because I went 0-2 didn't mean it wasn't a good week of football. I mean, we had two exceptional AFC, NFC championship games, both going to overtime, Flip.
Oh, those games were crazy, weren't they? Just phenomenal games. Yeah, we had in the first game controversy. And you hate seeing the controversy when it's a fantastic game with the pass interference. I saw a clip today, or maybe it was yesterday, about how the ref who threw the flag, or didn't throw the flag, who waved it off, it was basically his angle. And you didn't really see the defensive player from his angle. So you didn't see the defensive player, creaming into him. You didn't see it. Now, why he waved off the other ref is baffling, way beyond me. The other ref had the viewpoint. Did you see that?
Well, yes. And the only thing I can think of is I think that in a game of that magnitude and in that situation, I feel that as though they were a little bit apprehensive to throw a flag because they didn't want the ramifications of making the incorrect call based off of a judgment call. That's the only thing I can think of. Now, obviously, after the game, Sean Payton had announced that he had talked to the head of the officiating crew, and they admitted they blew it. They came out and admitted they blew it. So things like that happen. Now, is it excusable in that situation? No. I think that at that point, you could probably throw the flag, come together, convene, and then ask your guys around you, did you see something different? Did you see something I didn't see?
They have to do that more.
They have to, right?
The speed of the game is just so fast. And it's impossible to make a lot of these calls when the speed is that fast. Everybody saw the instant replay. Well, the refs don't get that luxury.
No,
and they don't get those camera angles that we get.
No, they don't. And if anybody's ever been to a live game, like one thing that at least I came away from the very first time I went to a professional football game was, you're right, just how exceptionally fast the game goes. The players run, like the plays happen, and you don't get that sitting at home watching on a TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're right, like in real time, these officials have a very difficult thing to do. But when you think about it, like these guys are still the best at what they do.
Yes.
I mean, you have multiple levels of football, whether it be all the way down to Pop Warner through JV, high school, college, NFL. These guys are the top of the top, and so they're very good at what they do. This was just an unfortunate error that I don't feel should have happened. I think everybody, hindsight, being 2020, can all kind of make that conclusion. But the fact of the matter remains is that it's an imperfect sport played by imperfect players. Like, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be missed calls. The one thing, okay, and so that's all done. Like, you can't unscrambled scrambled eggs. Like, it's over and done with.
Now, one thing before we move on there, I'll throw this out for my Steeler brethren.
Yes.
Is when we lost to New Orleans, we lost on a couple of questionable where they actually did throw the flag on it. A lot of Steeler Nation will be mad about the couple of penalties on Joe Hayden that he sustained. I wrote an article a number of weeks back, shortly after the game, kind of debunking the flags. But, of course, again, I had different camera angles to work with. I had the slow motion, to work with, unlike the refs, who have to call it in real time. So what's going on after the whole debacle?
So that's all said and done. And like I said, like, things happen, we should just kind of take it for what it is and move on. However, there's a big shift going on down there in New Orleans. I saw today that attorney Frank, how do you say that? Frank D'Amico, there it is, says he has filed a civil suit in New Orleans on behalf of the Saints season ticket holders to make the right call and bring both teams back to replay the end of the game.
Not happening.
Come on.
It's not happening.
That's not going to happen.
I mean, how do you even do that? I mean, how do you even think about doing that?
You can't. It's ridiculous to assume that if that call had been made, the Saints would be going on to the Super Bowl. Look, I get it. Yeah, they still had opportunity. They got the ball first in overtime. They couldn't do anything with it. Not like no one game comes down to one particular play, because you have 4 quarters of action. You run 50, 60, 70 snaps in a game where you have opportunities to get the job done. Now, you could focus your attention on one particular player, one missed call or one no call. But to think of something is absurd.
I agree.
I don't even think it's worth talking about.
I couldn't agree more. You want to take the refs out of the game? Then win the game. I mean, no.
Yeah.
What I mean
I
mean is, if you want to take them, some of their questionable or bad calls or whatever you want to call them, you want to take that out of the game.
Rise above it.
Put up more points. Get your defense out on the field. Get them,
This is
shut down the Rams with your defense.
And something I haven't heard a lot of people talking about was going back to what I talked about last week, that Sean Payton and actually, McVay, they both have a tendency to try to get a little too cute and try to outthink their opponent too much, like when they don't rely on their playmakers. In that big of a situation at that time, why are they trying to throw the ball to Tommy Lee Lewis? I don't get it. You got Michael Thomas, you got Ingram, you got Kamara, you got Brees. Come on.
Well, they were without Ben Watson. He was dealing with his
appendicitis.
And I think he was really their third or fourth most targeted weapon that they have on their team.
Right.
So, of course, they had to go to, Tommy Lee Jones. I love Tommy Lee Jones. I just had to throw that out
I can't help but think of Tommy Lee Jones too when I hear that. But But yeah, that's pretty crazy. I guess we'll keep an eye on it just to see how ridiculous that gets. But
I'm not going to waste my time.
There's not a chance that that's going to happen. And I don't know. Is it just the culture of today's society where everybody's like kind of sue happy if they get their feelings hurt, or their,
It
it's
doesn't
just like,
go their way.
Yeah, it's like you wronged me. I want
Well, we're gonna leave that right there. We're gonna open up a huge can of worms. Otherwise.
But
and then we get into the second game, and I don't. How many fans watching that game knew that when the Patriots won the coin flip that the Chiefs actually stood a chance?
I think everybody just let out this long collective sigh, like
Brady
here we
again.
go, here we
Brady
go,
again.
here we go.
As a Steeler fan, I don't like Tom Brady. I get sick of losing to him year after year. But he's just that good. Plain and simple.
There's no other way to put it. I don't like the guy. I sure as heck respect him.
Mm-hmm. And for the Chiefs to get caught offsides on what ended up being an interception that got called back.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Bad time. And that was, D Ford, one of the better offensive or outside linebackers in the game.
Yep, absolutely. So that was huge. That was a huge pivotal moment in the game that was 100% preventable.
Yes, I agree.
So
let's enough of that. Let's hop into the news and notes.
Yeah, so congrats to you again on, going 2-0 in your predictions. So the last 3 times that we had something a little competition between us dating back to our fantasy championship game, you came out on top of that. So I'm getting tired of losing to you.
Are you going to learn a lesson?
No.
Well, obviously not, since we'll probably come up with our little Super Bowl predictions later.
Yeah, and we'll have other side bets, I'm sure, as the off season progresses.
Agreed. So let's hop into the news and notes then, and get rolling there. Titans promote tight ends coach Arthur Smith to offensive coordinator. When that first broke, I couldn't even find a wiki page on this guy.
I'd never heard of him.
How does that make Titans fans feel, let alone people such as myself who has Mariota on their dynasty team?
Well, when you look at the Titans' offensive production, I guess, over the last couple of years, a big part of it was channeling through Delaney Walker at the tight end position. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. Is he going to
be back?
I don't know if he will. I don't think so. I mean, he's getting up there in age. He's 33? Yeah, and coming off injury, and I just don't know. I think his future's up in the air. They got Jonnu Smith, who I'm pretty high on, potential-wise. So far he hasn't done a lot, but I think he's a heck of an athlete, and he's got some good potential there.
No, because they promoted their defensive coordinator from within as well, and he's a big question mark. There's a lot of. I'm not sold on Tennessee. They very well could be a big dumpster fire this year.
Oh, absolutely. They're not like an offensive juggernaut the way it is. So you're right. I mean, it's a big question mark there. I'll just have to see how that plays out. But maybe they got a winner. We just don't know.
The Washington Post, Mark Maskey reports the NFL Competition Committee will give consideration to making pass interference calls reviewable.
Yeah, we should have touched on this a little bit ago during that. What do you think about that? Because we talked about this briefly, and I'm of the mindset that I'm not a big fan of it, just because I think that, me being a big baseball fan, there was this discussion a while back on the strikes balls zone, making those reviewable and stuff like that. But I'm for one of, even if the calls don't go my way, there's this part of the game where the human element needs to remain in there.
For me, the pass interference calls are pretty huge. Would you rather see a review possibly, or, maybe giving him a 15-yard penalty instead. I don't know. I don't know what could be fixed.
See, and that's the thing is, like, where do you draw the line? Because the one that just happened in the Saints game obviously should have been something that probably could have been reviewable. If this had been in place, that there could have been a different outcome in the game.
And it would have been overturned.
Yeah, but that was an extreme. So, but as you climb back down further and further down that ladder when it's not as extreme, like, where do you start drawing the line of what gets reviewed and what doesn't? That's the ambiguity of that whole thing is what questions that for me.
And I honestly, I don't know. 50% of me says, yeah, I would love some of these bad pass interference calls to be reviewed. But where do you stop there? Do you go back and review holding calls on offense? There's a holding on almost every offensive play out there.
Right.
If you look hard enough.
Yep.
Holding on the defense or any number of penalties. I don't know. I think it would open up a big can of worms.
It absolutely
and
would.
I don't think Pandora's box could get closed again if you were to do that. Mm-hmm. And then are you going to end up with games being over 4 hours long because now you're going to give out more challenges?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things to consider when talking about this seriously,
I really don't expect anything to change this year. We'll see another year of questionable / bad calls. What happens? The NFL announced the Buccaneers, Raiders, Rams, and Jaguars will host games in London, and the Chargers will host a game in Mexico City during the 2019 season. The Panthers will travel to face the Bucs. The Bears will play the Raiders. The Bengals will meet the Rams. Ooh, boy. Those are exciting. Gonna make sure I'm up at 8:30 in the morning to watch some of them.
Right.
The Texans will battle the Jaguars, and the Chiefs will get their second shot at Mexico City against the Chargers. Which can they get their? Are they gonna have field issues again?
Are they gonna schedule a Shakira concert the week before? What were they doing?
How could they really get that many people at a Shakira concert?
I asked the same question. I was like,
so
what, did 10 people tear that field up or what?
Drew Brees says he's going to return for 2019. I don't think that's a surprise after the big year.
I don't think so. I at first I was kind of be like, okay, well, if he wins it, is he done? If he doesn't win, it doesn't advance on. I think he comes back, and I'm not surprised whatsoever. I think he had a fantastic season. He's got a great offense, great defense now, and he's got an excellent shot of making to the big game next year. So yeah, doesn't surprise me.
Kareem Hunt should know about his suspension before free agency opens March 13th. No doubt there will be teams already, waiting to snatch him up. Do you think he?
Oh, I think he signs right away.
I think so too.
I don't think it'll be long after free agency starts that he'll be snagged up. Where he goes, we don't know. I've heard Chicago was interested. Wouldn't surprise me to see the Raiders go get him. No doubt a special talent at the running back position. Judging where he goes, the fan base reaction, how are they going to treat that?
There's going to be backlash. I mean, there always is when you have controversial players, especially, doing domestic abuse. Mm-hmm. It doesn't fly well, doesn't sit well with fans.
Yeah, if Cincinnati didn't already have their domestic running back.
Joe Mixon was college though.
Yeah, but he would fit well in Cincinnati with just
their propensity to give players a second chance.
Yes,
should players not get a second chance? I don't think that would be fair.
I think the silver lining on this whole situation with Kareem Hunt is going to give us fantasy owners an interesting perspective to see whether or not is he really that good, or was he a beneficiary of a great system?
Because Damian Williams came in and looked pretty doggone good.
Damian Williams is looking like a stud, and what has he done the last couple of years?
Who? Where was he?
Right. So, Damian Williams comes from Miami. He was like a third stringer there. Comes in, gets an opportunity after Spencer Ware goes down, gets hurt, steps in, and just lights it up. Like, okay, so that type of stuff just doesn't happen.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see if Kareem Hunt gets placed in a good system, in a good situation. We could see, another shot at a star type year. But if he goes somewhere where the offensive line's maybe not that good, they don't have a great passing offense, like where they can just kind of key in on the run, could be tough.
Yeah.
Especially if that team would be like, say, like the New York Jets, which is where I'm hoping Le'Veon Bell does not end up.
Well, we'll save that. We don't want to get into that conversation and tear the middle of the show apart. Ravens extend John Harbaugh another year. He only had 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah, and why not? I mean, he's in a good situation. They're running a junior high type offense, so there's not a lot of
yeah.
I don't think I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. Like, having Lamar Jackson there, it can't be too complicated. It's just pretty basic and simple. I don't think that he's a guy that's going to have the whole entire offensive playbook memorized like the back of his hand, to where he can go up there and make all these different audibles like some of these other quarterbacks. Don't want to take anything away from him, but he's just not that type of guy. So they're going to run a real simplified version of an offense. So
it'll be interesting to see him in his second year. How he progresses as a passer, because he was not good passing the ball in his rookie year. You want to get into the Chiefs here a little bit?
Yeah, so the Chiefs fired their defensive coordinator, Bob Sutton, after their loss in the AFC Championship game against the Patriots. So not a shocker. We all knew, like, throughout the year that, especially their secondary was susceptible. I mean, you could just light them up deep.
Okay, you get rid of a corner like Marcus Peters. And Eric Berry was gone for most of the year?
Yep.
What's supposed to happen there? Your defense isn't going to get better by any means. And their defense was pretty decent the years before.
Yeah, and the thing with that is I feel like the defensive weakness that they have on that team was kind of being overshadowed, thankfully to them, to this high-powered offense that kept getting all the attention. So when these guys would go out and Pat Mahomes is lighting up the scoreboard, throwing 50-plus touchdowns, like the lack of defensive prowess is kind of just ran under the radar. So yeah, that's not a big shocker to me. So here's one that's kind of crazy in relation to that. Adam Schefter, I saw that he reports that ex-Jets and Bills head coach Rex Ryan, he's a name to watch for that Kansas City Chiefs defensive coordinator job.
I never liked Ryan as a head coach, but I did like him as a DC.
I'm right there with you. Right there with you. So you could pair up Andy Reid and Rex Ryan. That might be interesting.
That could very well be interesting. We'll see how far that rumor, the legs on that rumor actually are.
And if there's a team to lure him out, like, wouldn't it be Kansas City? Like a team like that's got a lot of talent and gives them an opportunity to come in and just
and to work with Andy Reid.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
So, yeah, we'll just we'll keep an eye on that and see how that all turns out. Eli Manning agent Tom Condon believes he will be back in 2019. What do you think?
I think that's what an agent should say.
Yes. Based off of his performance and the way he looked on the field, do you think that he will be back?
So hard to say. I don't really. Yeah, the talent level at quarterback in the NFL really is not that good.
Mm-mm.
So to bring him back, he's not good. And Jake Loletta.
Kyle Loletta?
Kyle.
Yep.
I don't know why I got Jake Loletta stuck in my head. But, he was 0 for 5 with an interception this year. Loletta was. He didn't blow anybody's socks off.
He did end up in jail, though, didn't he?
He did during the season. A little booze, little driving. I think he tried to run over a cop.
I
if
think,
remember
yeah,
right.
I think that's something like that.
I think he had a pretty good lawyer there that he didn't spend more time in jail.
But so Eli comes back. I could definitely see that happening. They've got a decent pick in the first round of the draft, so they got some capital there where they could trade. Go after someone in the draft. There's not a lot out there for the quarterback position, but if they do grab one, expect Eli to kind of help coach and nurture that young kid. So if he does come back, maybe he has a little bit of a short leash. But
could you see something crazy like Nick Foles going there?
Yes, I could.
I don't see them grabbing a veteran. I see them more of going after.
Yeah, but
a younger guy?
Would you, as the Giants coach, owner, GM, with the lack of quarterbacks that are coming out of this year's draft, would you rather go get someone like a Nick Foles and kind of be a stopgap quarterback for the next 2 or 3 years while you wait for the 2020 rookie quarterback class to come out?
Okay, I'm on your bandwagon. Well, I'm not on the bandwagon there, but I definitely see your point, and I agree. I agree, but
you can admit it.
That's kind of tough. That's tough to admit. Yeah, you paint a picture like that, and yeah, I'll agree with you. I'll go there.
Okay.
The thing why I say talking about bringing in a young kid, a rookie, or I know it's a bad class, but you have Barkley to take the pressure off. You have OBJ, who on his good days he's one hell of a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping his head in the game, that's might be a different thing. But Evan Ingram, solid tight end if he can stay healthy.
Sterling Shepard in the slot.
Sterling Shepard.
They've got a lot of weapons there.
They do. So they are and they need offensive lineman help.
Big time. Now they got Will Hernandez, which is a big boost to them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. That's it seemed like for most of the year, the Giants' offensive line resembled a revolving door that the defensive line could just run right through.
Yeah, I think they released Eric Flowers during the season, who was their opening day starting right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not confidence in who they had behind him. It was he was just that bad.
But hey, we did get some confirmation on an elder, a veteran that we were wondering whether he was going to come back. Larry Fitzgerald, Flip, he's come back for another year.
Why? What more does he have to prove? Is he trying to? I'm not sure how far behind like Terrell Owens on some of his stuff. He's absolutely not going to catch Jerry Rice on anything.
I don't know if the records really mean as much to him as what we may think they mean to him.
I don't know if
he's such a good dude, like he's such a great guy. He's an ambassador to the sport. He's what I feel a lot of like dads that have kids that are playing football are like, okay, son, watch this guy. This is how you play football. This is how you be a man in the game. This is how you address the game. I think he's coming back just simply because I think he's just got love for the game.
I agree. Why wouldn't you? Why would he at least test a free agent market? Go somewhere else for a year.
He's got a ring.
Yeah, but that ring is old.
It is, but you spent 16 seasons with one team, man.
That's just tough. I mean, another season with Josh Rosen. You have, your head coach questionable being a head coach in the NFL with what's his name? He was an old quarterback.
Kingsbury?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh, sorry, I was reading ahead and I was zoned out. Sorry.
So yeah, you left me hanging there.
Yeah, I sure did. I apologize. Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah. So you have a head coach with no head coaching experience.
Maybe he just wants to be a part of the fun.
I guess. I'm sure it's not for a lot of money either. So I think he's probably got plenty.
Oh yeah, he does.
Jets hire Kenny Loggins? No, that's not right.
Dowell
Logains. As offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. He's followed Gase around from his time in Chicago to Miami and now with the Jets.
This is a Gase hire, obviously.
Yeah. What do you think it's a good hire for Sam Darnold to progress under?
I honestly don't know. I don't know. I'm not. They say Gase is the quarterback whisperer. I don't know anything about this guy other than the fact that he's followed Gase around, from Chicago to Miami and now. So Gase obviously believes in him. What's his pedigree? What's his track record? That's what I would like to look at.
He spent a little time with Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm drawing a blank of who he probably had, quarterbacking the year that they were in Chicago together.
Probably Cutler.
Yeah, probably a really bad Cutler, I guess.
Maybe. But we'll see. I don't know. I honestly, I don't have enough info on there to formulate an opinion, but nothing is screaming, yes, that's a great hire.
Mm-hmm.
But Bengals hired Raiders quarterback coach Brian Callahan as offensive coordinator. So this is the legendary Bill Callahan's son. Brian's been in the NFL.
Legendary.
Yeah, legendary, right?
Like how he was legendary here in Nebraska, right?
I was just going to say, here in Nebraska, when you say Bill Callahan's name and legendary, it's laced with a whole bunch of sarcasm.
A lot better pedigree, a lot more success Bill had in the NFL than in college.
Did not have a good showing here in Nebraska.
No, not a lot of love.
Not particularly popular. So, but this is so Brian Callahan, a new offensive coordinator for Cincinnati. It's Bill Callahan's son. He's been an NFL quarterbacks coach since 2015. Spent 2015 in Denver before a 2-year stint in Detroit. Joined John Gruden last season. Does he even have the credentials to be an OC in the NFL? Flip, do you think it's possible for new coach Zach Taylor, who serves as his own play caller? If not, what do you think? Bengals could be a disaster?
I think Bengals are going to be a disaster either way, except for Joe Mixon. Mixon was definitely the lone bright spot. No AJ Green. He was hurt.
Aging now.
Probably still 28, 29 maybe.
He's 30.
30?
Yep, he'll be 30 either at the beginning of the year or sometime like before. But, yeah, he'll be 30 going into this year. So he's not like super old.
No. He's not Larry Fitzgerald old.
No. But, once you get to 31, 32, maybe 33, you start to notice that inevitable decline at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, and the injuries crop up even more than what he's seeing now. Does he really have much of an impact there with Zach Taylor calling his own plays? Not so much. He learned a year under Gruden. Definitely not a great hire, but his dad was an OC, spent a lot of time dealing with offenses and learning schemes, so I'm sure his son learned quite a bit. I wouldn't worry about it unless he's being asked to actually call the plays. Mm-hmm. Then I would definitely be concerned.
Yeah, so that basically wraps it up for some of the news and notes around the NFL, coaching changes, that type of stuff. So we'll jump into our highly anticipated discussion on Le'Veon Bell. The saga continues. Do you want to recap everyone as to what our discussion was about?
Well, so we were sitting there watching the Chiefs game, and
there's 5, 6 of us?
Yeah, 5 or 6 of us. And the adult beverages had been flowing throughout the day from bowling and then onto the discussion, and it was a fun discussion. So we talked about Le'Veon Bell and where is he going to go? Where where do you think he's going to go in 2019, Jarvis?
Well, it's not so much as where I think he's going to go. I'm sold, 100% sold. I know exactly where he's going to be next year. He is going to be the running back for the Indianapolis Colts. Mark it down, stamped it. You heard it here. He will be a Colt next year.
Okay, and why do you think he's going to be a Colt?
I just think the system is just perfect for him, and they're longing to get a superstar running back like that. If they got an opportunity, which this year they do, maybe they're not longing to get someone like that, but I think that they've got an opportunity where they can actually do that. They've got $117 million in cap space, which is crazy. They have 2 high draft picks this year. They're formulated to just come in, reload, and take 2019 by storm. I think a big part of that, the offensive line blocking scheme. We saw this the emergence of Marlon Mack playing really, really well. So who knows if that is just how good he is, or again, if that's the offensive blocking scheme in the line, which I think has a big part to do with it. But if you're Le'Veon Bell, how do you not get excited about the opportunity to go to a team who has shown interest in you, where you can go play with Andrew Luck, you have T.Y. Hilton there, that great offensive line, a young up-and-coming defense that is primed to make a Super Bowl run? That's the team.
I see Le'Veon Bell loving to play there. I'd say sign me on the dotted line. Give me a chunk of that, $117 million salary cap. Absolutely. But I see this up-and-coming team that doesn't need Le'Veon Bell. They have Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack, 10 starts this past year, ran for over 900 yards.
Yeah, he's a great young running back.
They don't use him a lot in the receiving game. He only had 17 receptions for the year. But do you need him? I'm saying they don't need Le'Veon Bell. They have Marlon Mack. Injuries are a part of the game. Players are going to get hurt. Players are going to miss some games. Like Mack did. Like Bell has done off and on throughout his career.
For sure.
Yeah, I think Mack's a pretty good talent.
I do too.
So I don't think there's any reason to go out and spend. There's talk that Bell wants anywhere from 15 to 17 million per year. Now, the first year you can get around all that by backloading the contract and guaranteeing years like what Bell wants. So you could really get him for $8, $9, $10 million the first year. If depending on really what he's going to get, is he really going to get 15 million? Is he really going to get 17 million a year? Is he really going to redo the whole running back their salaries, reset the market on the running backs? I think he is going to reset the market, but I don't think he's going to do it with, I don't think he's going to do it in Indy. Could he go to the Jets? Absolutely. Jets have just almost as much cap space. When you talk about it, they have 88 million or 93 million in cap space. The Bills could move on from LaShawn McCoy.
They need to.
84 million. McCoy's just always hurt.
Yeah.
Raiders don't have Lynch or the muscle hamster.
Yep.
Under contract. They're at 71 million. Texans 67 million. Lamar Miller came on at the end.
And they got Deonta Foreman.
Yeah, and they got Deonta Foreman. Seahawks, running back by committee there, probably not. Packers, possibly.
Aaron Jones.
Yeah, Aaron Jones. Yeah, you're right. Ravens.
That's the one right there.
Ravens is.
That's the one that if I had to put my second guess down, it would probably be the Ravens. And then the third one would be actually your favorite, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, my favorite is him landing with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's a.
Now that might seem maybe not the best fit. They don't have a lot of cap space at $12 million, but it's very easy for teams to manipulate the salary cap and to generate cap space. And you can balloon that $12 million up to 30, 40 million real easily.
And who just went to Tampa Bay to coach?
Oh yeah, Bruce Arians.
And when was the last time he was coaching? Did he have a special talent type running back?
Yeah, you go from David Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah, who caught 80, 90 passes just a couple of years ago. That would love to have a dual purpose back with Bell.
I would love to be right about Indianapolis, but if he had to go to a different team, the Tampa Bay Bucks, you're 100% right, would be a fantastic landing spot for him.
The big thing is just their cap room. You know, they're my favorite. I expect them to make some cap room to bring him in. You know, just because of the dots connect for me as the dots connect. You know, with you with Bell going there. You say good system for Bell there. I kind of will throw out there, the Colts, they don't make splash moves.
They haven't in the past, and you guys were absolutely right with that. Another thing to think about is the chip that Le'Veon Bell has on his shoulder. Like, he's not going to want – I feel that he's probably – if he has an opportunity to go to some place that you can go in and make a splash and make that Super Bowl-type run, he's going to want to do that as opposed to going to a team who's going to finish, 6-10, 7-9. He wants to go in and show the Steelers, this is what you're missing. This is what you missed out on.
I don't think he's going to hold that kind of a grudge.
Have you seen his social media posts?
Well,
but let me throw this out.
A lot of Bell's frustration was at the fans. The fans not understanding this is business. This is business. Sean Gilbert sat out a season. He's the former defensive tackle or maybe defensive end for Washington, and then went to Carolina. He sat out an entire year 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of other players. Vincent Jackson sat out like 10 games. Galloway sat out a chunk of games. You even go way back, and Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith missed 2 games of a year. I believe they won the Super Bowl, and he won the rushing title that year even. I don't think he signs with somebody to spite them. I think what he's going to do is he's going to go to a system that's going to really work for him. And of course, he's going to get paid as well.
So if you had the Bucks, the Ravens, the Colts, and I don't know, throw someone else out there.
We'll throw the Jets in there.
Throw the Jets because they're an absolute viable contender here. If you had all of those offers on the table, similar type money, obviously they're not going to be the exact same, but similar type money, wouldn't you take the team that's got the best chance of winning a Super Bowl?
But do you care? Do you go for the money? I mean, or do you go for that Super Bowl chance? How far is Tampa Bay away from contention?
They're a defense away. Yeah. They need to solidify their defense. Their offense, not bad.
You look at it. What Jameis is a turnover machine, but so's Big Ben.
Mm-hmm.
You throw a back in there that's going to help protect him, give him some great outlets there in Tampa Bay. You throw in the Bruce Arians factor. I think Arians could really sell him on. We're gonna throw you the ball 100 times this year, Bell. You're gonna be that. You're gonna be our wide receiver number 2. And can they afford to pay him? That's gonna be the big thing. The Jets, Colts, Raiders, they all can afford to pay him. Baltimore, only if he'd want to stick it to the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
You could definitely make a case for that.
So is there a scenario that you see where Le'Veon Bell actually stays in Pittsburgh?
None. No.
Even with Antonio Brown going, do you think that Pittsburgh is in a position where they feel comfortable losing both of their superstar players?
They won't have a choice on this.
Because with the Bell thing, are they gonna place the transition tag on him?
I don't see that happening because the thing with the Steelers and the Packers are the only two NFL teams that do not guarantee contracts for players that aren't quarterbacks for more than 1 year. Mm-hmm. Besides the rookies, and the rookies, the rookie contracts are, I think the entire first round is now guaranteed. The guaranteed money is going up. I fully believe, and I've wrote a lot of articles about Bell on this, is that his sticking point with signing with the Steelers was always about that guaranteed money. He looks at all these other running backs.
The Todd Gurley one, he got like $60 million with like 45 guaranteed.
But it wasn't really 45 guaranteed. It was really closer to around 20.
But something like that.
Yeah, but like even Devontae Freeman a couple years ago signed a contract where he got $22 million guaranteed. I think you go back to 2011 to 2014, and you go back to Adrian Peterson and Chris Johnson when those guys were making huge money and they were signing these big guaranteed contracts, and then all of a sudden the market fell out. The bottom fell out of the market on that. And I think Bell wants to reset that market. He wants the 2 to 3 years guaranteed. He wants that 30 to 35 million guaranteed on a 5-year deal.
If you're a potential suitor in one of these teams, are you concerned at all if he's the same Le'Veon Bell after sitting out a year?
I think there's got to be a little concern. The other concern is he does have an injury history. Granted, most of his injuries were kind of fluky. He was way overused in the playoffs a couple years ago when he had a bum groin. But the team really needed that, and then he played a handful of downs against New England and didn't get to finish the game. Some people might point to his drug suspensions that he's had. But here's a guy who's never tested positive. He got busted for alcohol and weed when he was with Blunt in his car. That was clear back in 2014 or 2015. Yeah, 2014. And then his whole thing of miscommunication or whatever his issues were, a missing drug test the next year and being suspended for that. But he's never tested positive. That's one thing that a lot of people, really get wrong with him.
Well, sure, because if you don't test,
it's
not positive. I'm trying to phrase this right. If you don't
show up for the test, you test positive.
Yes. Yeah. In the
guilty until proven innocent.
Right. In the eyes of the public, that's the way it all looks.
Yeah. Now, what do you think? Do you think a year out? Do you think it hurts him? He's got a lot of tread on his tires. So a year off really gets that body healed up.
Depending on how much he's been working out and exercising, I don't think that the cardio part of the whole equation is going to come in to factor all that much. What being in a position like that where your body is used to taking those hits, like you've got to develop that up, and once you get away from it for a while, that's going to be difficult. That's going to be the most difficult part. I think that he's going to, if he does come back, well, he's going to come back, but I think in his first preseason game, if he plays preseason, he's going to be really looking forward to that first hit, getting back on the field and taking that first hit and getting back into that feeling. So that's, I think, the part of everything that's going to be, for me anyway, that would be the most concerning, is in football shape, not just necessarily cardiovascular shape and all that stuff, muscular strength. It's just pure football shape.
But he's had a lot of carries. Does that really, should you really be worried about that?
I still do. A whole year without it. It's a long time.
You're
Maybe
looking.
he comes back and he's like, man, I don't like this as much as I thought I did.
I mean, you're looking at over 1,200 carries for his career.
Yeah.
You throw in another 300 receptions on the deal. It's going to take him a few hits to be back to okay. I get it. I think he's going to be. We'll see. Maybe it'll take him a game or two, but I don't think so.
I won't underestimate him. That's for sure. The guy's a special talent.
3-time Pro Bowler.
Mm-hmm.
I love Bell. I really do, because I don't really, the whole business aspect of it, I've seen that as a different aspect. That's business. That happens. The Steelers do contracts one way. He wanted the other way. They were never going to come close. So, while my Steelers brethren might hate Bell and might not want to even say his name, I wish him the best. I just hope he doesn't go to Baltimore. I do hope he doesn't go to the Colts either. I
think he'd be a beast there.
I see your point.
Indy and Tampa Bay, I think those are the two best landing spots for him.
Yeah. Will the Jets pony up a lot of cash so he can't pass that up?
I just would hate to go there.
Yeah. I agree.
There's just a lot of things that they need to work on right now. They're rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
He's nearing the end of his career. He's still got a good 4 or 5 years left, probably, I'd say. But still,
when you spend 6 years someplace, even though he didn't play this past year, and you don't have a choice of going anywhere else, now you hit free agency, and it's like, now I can choose wherever I want to go. The thing you brought up with the transition tag, the Steelers, another team's going to put out a contract that the Steelers just aren't going to match.
Mm-hmm.
Then they won't get any compensation. With him signing a big contract like that, the Steelers should get a third rounder in 2020 for him. So, where he's going to go, boy, that's going to be fun to watch. There's going to be a lot of rumors in the next, 7 weeks or so.
Oh,
6 weeks.
Oh, yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me, every year, we're 100% sure this guy's going to go here. And then all of a sudden, the last second, the rug gets swept out from underneath everybody's feet. Now he ends up across the country and some other team. So it'll be fun to see. This is going to be a fun one to keep our eye on. And there's just so many implications that go around this.
There could be a team that we didn't even really talk about that all of a sudden, I don't know, the head coach and the GM get all wild and crazy and say, okay, we want Bell.
Mm-hmm.
We want Bell to come in.
Kansas City,
even though they did sign Damian Williams to that 2-year deal.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I don't think that contract was very big. So, it's definitely going to be really fun to watch and see where he's going to go. Will he end up going to, let's say, some place crazy like the Raiders and end up there with Antonio Brown as well?
Oh yeah.
So
right.
we'll definitely save that Antonio Brown discussion for. I think we talked about him last week.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we have coming up on our agenda in the next month or so, Jarvis?
Well, so what we were kind of looking at doing is just, in the next month or so, we're going to be running through doing a top 10 breakdown of all of the positions, the recaps of, the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, see who is, in that top 10 list, who surprised us, things like that. We'll be covering all that, kind of split them up into a couple different shows so that way we can really dive in to how they performed and what their outlook is for the year, next year. So
yeah, and then we're definitely going to get into more of the combine stuff. I kind of put you on the spot there, didn't I?
No, not really.
Okay, you did quite the job of me putting you on the spot and you going, I'll just fight right through that. I'm okay.
But yeah, after all that, then we get into the fun combine stuff.
Yes, and that's where both of us are going to start stepping up our research and and learning about some of these college kids, and where we think potential landing spots, or for some of these kids. We're not going to get all wild and crazy. So if you guys are looking for what our thoughts are of like the 20th wide receiver, you're definitely out of luck. You're going to have to, hate to say this, but you're going to have to find a different podcast for that. We'll definitely cover the top 5 or so guys, and go from there, and their fantasy implications.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be getting into any sort of, okay, here's our 5-round mock draft and covering all like the defensive linemen and cornerbacks and stuff going where. No.
No, that's definitely not us.
I'll let someone else handle all that.
Well, that's a bit out of our depth, but maybe in 5 or 10 years we'll be there, right?
Who knows, right? But as for now, we're going to stick to fantasy positional players.
Yes. So maybe we will get all wild and crazy and pull out a mock draft, closer to the draft. But that's quite a ways away still.
Yeah, I don't know. With my luck going up against you, I don't know if I want to do that quite yet.
Oh, we'll bet a beer a pick, right?
Okay. All right. Yeah.
There we go.
I hope you like Old Milwaukee Light, because I think I can get a 30-pack for $6 or something.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to do our Super Bowl predictions this week, or should we wait another week?
Let's wait.
Okay.
Let's wait.
That sounds good. Yeah. I think we got time, so might as well. So, okay. Well, let's wrap up the show. Any final words, Jarvis?
No, guys. Thanks for tuning in. This is something that's pretty fun for us to do, and we appreciate your listenership. So.
Listenership.
Yeah.
Is that a word?
That is a word, right?
Yeah, it is now.
Yeah.
If it wasn't before. Well, we'll have to Google that right after the show.
I'm making it a word if it's not.
Okay. Sounds good. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, or if you didn't catch us live, catching us after the podcast, when it's available to listen at any time. So be sure to like and subscribe and
hit that bell
so you get those notifications when we do go live. Sorry for the false alarm earlier today. I was doing a little testing. So thanks everybody. Have a great week, and we will see you next Wednesday for another exciting podcast of intentional streaming. Check us. Be sure to friend us on Twitter, and questions, send it to our email.